You are listening to the Loida Lewis podcast, hosted by Loida Nicolas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build a billion-dollar company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a billion-dollar empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Welcome to the Loida Lewis podcast. And today I have the pleasure of introducing a person that I'm starstruck to be here. He's an actor, a director, and an author, and a Filipino by ancestry. Lou Diamond Phillips is here.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you very
so
much for being here. As I said, I was a little starstruck because I first learned about you in that movie of Richie Valens, La Bamba.
Yes.
Can you tell us how did that come about? Because that's like, wow, you know, I didn't know you were Filipino then, but a person
a lot of people
color.
didn't.
I thought you were Latino.
Yes, most
but
people
it was a big breakthrough.
It was a huge breakthrough. I was at the time I was teaching film acting in Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Corpus Christi. I went to the University of Texas at Arlington, where I got a degree in theater. I actually went back recently and taught a weeks-long residency there. But I graduated. I was doing a lot of smaller roles in Dallas, and they did a national talent search. And
Wow.
and yeah, they came to Dallas. I was put on tape for both roles, for Richie and Bob. And then 2 weeks later, I was flown to Hollywood for a screen test, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's terrific. So from the very start, you were already interested in acting.
Yeah, no, it's something I fell into. I did a lot of acting through junior high and high school. In Texas, they have this thing called the University Interscholastic League, and you compete in drama just like you would compete in track or football or something else. Every year you do a one-act play. There are drama meets where you're doing monologue interpretation, duet scenes, improv, all of that. So I was very much involved in theater throughout high school, including being the captain of the football team, which
Wow.
it confused people. Are you what are you? Are you in the drama department? Or are you on the football team? Well, I was both.
Yeah.
Kind of like Glee, right?
Yes.
And so what eventually happened is that I was winning a lot of awards. It was pretty wonderful. I was pretty thrilled with that, and I thought, okay, well, obviously I can make a living at this because people think I'm good. And so I went to the University of Texas at Arlington and majored in theater. What's interesting is that I also had a honors English minor, and I did a lot of writing throughout college as well, and producing my own plays and whatnot. So getting back to narrative writing or writing screenplays or plays or things like that. That's even though I'm not as well known for that, that's certainly something that I've never let go of.
Yes. So in this La Bamba, how did you get into the role of Richie Valens? Yes.
Quickly. I got literally they cast me on a Friday before we started rehearsals on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I had to fly back to Texas. I had only brought enough for a couple of days, luggage. And so I had to fly back to Texas. I had to pack for a couple of months. We rehearsed for 1 week only.
What?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
how, don't you have to know the script to memorize it?
Yeah, no, everything. But, and so, I had a stack of newspaper articles and research on Richie. I had 16 songs to learn. I sing now. I didn't really sing as much back then. So I lip synced. They'd already recorded Los Lobos, David Hidalgo of Los Lobos, recording all of those songs. So I had 16 songs to learn. God knows how many, varieties of "Come On, Let's Go." The "Where, What, I, Oh, He," just
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
And I hung out with his family. His family was there. His mother Connie was there. His sister Connie Jr. Irma, Mario, his brother Bob. So they were there the entire time, and they were an amazing asset for me to be able to do the research and learn about Richie, firsthand from his family. So yeah, 1 week, and it was amazingly intense. Plus, I don't play guitar. I still don't play guitar. I had to learn all of the notes by rote.
Wow.
So it's very correct. And I fooled Brian Setzer when we were doing that big concert scene. He went, "Wow, that was a great solo." I said, "Yeah, I'll tell Cesar Rosas." I'll tell Cesar Rosas you said so, because I didn't really play it, but I faked it,
Yes,
So,
wow.
yeah.
So that's the great actor in you.
Oh, thank
that
you.
you were able to jump into the role and
Yeah.
become Richie Valens.
Yes.
Yes, it's a very sad story. Well, I won't tell the ending.
You know what? I think spoilers are okay. It's been 50-something years.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, no, Richie was 17 years old and died in the plane crash with Buddy Holly,
Yes,
February
exactly.
3rd, 1959.
Yes.
The headline in the New York Times was the day the music died.
Yes.
So,
that's
but
right.
I mean, what's amazing is that it's still relevant today. We literally just did a fantastic screening of the new 4K version at the Academy Museum in Los Angeles. We sold out. I am one of the governors of the actors branch of the Academy.
Nice,
And
very good.
I donated the green guitar that I played in the movie. I've had that for 37 years, and I donated that to the Academy Museum.
That's
so
terrific.
It was a wonderful night. It was an amazing night.
Great. And then after that, I also took note that you were in Stand Up and Deliver. Again, a Latino,
Yes.
a teacher, and getting the most out of his students. So can you tell the audience about that? This is about Feliciano, his name, the teacher's name.
Jaime Escalante.
Escalante. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Jaime,
Stand Up and Deliver.
Stand and deliver.
Stand and Deliver.
Yeah,
okay.
and it was again a true story. Now the funny thing is that I did not make a lot of money on La Bamba, and being
because you were new.
I was brand new, so I was
Yes,
paid
yes.
scale.
Scale.
So maybe $6,000 total.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
And I gave half of that to my mother because I'm a good Filipino boy.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, please, everybody. His mother is Filipino. Okay.
So I helped her out with her rent, but I was almost out of money. I was by December of 1986, I was almost out of money, and then I landed a role on Miami Vice. Okay. So I got that role, went to Miami, and Edward James Olmos, who was on Miami Vice at the time, had done Zoot Suit with Luis Valdez, the writer-director of La Bamba, and Danny Valdez, his brother. And so he knew that I had played Richie. But the movie La Bamba was not going to come out for another 6 months. I did this in January of 87. The movie didn't come out until August of 87. So nobody was hiring me in L.A. I was still an unknown actor. And the movie's about an obscure Mexican rock and roller, so nobody thought it was going to be a huge hit. So I did the scene with Eddie Olmos. And the funny thing about that episode of Miami Vice, Viggo Mortensen from The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow, yes.
Yeah.
He was
also,
there?
He was also in Young Guns 2. Yeah, he played my partner. And Annette Bening was also in that episode.
Oh,
so
my
in that
God.
one episode called Red Tape, there were the three of us, just at the beginning of our careers.
Yes. The one in Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
All right. So that's Virgison. I can never pronounce his name.
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo
Yeah,
Mortensen.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Wow, that was terrific.
Yeah, I know and I ended up, working with him a few times after that. But at any rate, I did a scene with Eddie, and he goes, "What are you doing next month?" I was like, "No, nothing. We want to have lunch, And he gives me a number, and he says, "When you get back to LA, call that number." It was Ramon Menendez, the director of Stand and Deliver, and that's how I got in the movie. And then we went on. It was an independent film. Once again, very little money, but
it paid the rent.
It not only paid the rent. We won 7 Independent Spirit Awards. I won Best Supporting Actor. Eddie won Best Actor. The film won Best Film. We both were nominated for Golden Globes for Best Actor for Eddie and Supporting for myself. And then Eddie went on to be nominated for an Oscar. So the film made a huge impact. And both of those films, La Bamba and Stand and Deliver, are entered into the National Film Registry.
Oh, that's terrific.
Which is a huge honor because of their cultural impact, and artistic achievement. So
They were the
very
first
proud of
ones
that.
also.
Yeah.
Yes. So for those of you who have not seen the movie, do you think it's on Netflix?
Stand and Deliver?
Stand
I know,
and Deliver
it should be
and La
easy to
Bamba.
find. Yeah, they're both easy to
Okay,
find. They're
all
both
of
out
those
there.
were
Yeah.
breakthrough films.
Yes.
Because none in that time was talking about
Yeah.
people of color. So that was great.
I'm actually very proud because in the beginning, and then my third film was Young Guns. So it was I was batting 1,000 in Hollywood for a few years, but the realization at that time, all those films put together, I realized that I was now a spokesperson for diversity, for representation.
Early on, 1980s.
Yeah, an OG. I've taken that very, very seriously. And as a director, as a writer, I mean, the hero in my novels is Brown, and as a director, as a governor of the Academy, very, very concerned that we maintain our representation and that we're including marginalized communities and that there are opportunities, and the fact that I've been able to be someone who can keep those doors open, for a long time. I mean,
For
it means
those
a
who
lot to me.
come behind you, after you.
And the Filipino community is, I mean, we're finally getting some recognition. I mean, as you said, in the 80s and 90s, I never got to play Filipino. The only time I did was a movie that I wrote. A movie that I wrote called Ambition, where I played a Filipino American author. I even had it in my mind back then, So
that's also independent film.
Yes, it was actually.
It was released.
Yeah, it was a Miramax film. Yes.
Miramax.
Yeah, and I wrote it, but I did not direct it. And Cecilia Peck, Gregory's daughter, was my leading lady. Clancy Brown. It was a wonderful cast.
And the name is
Ambition.
Ambition. All
is
right.
what it's called.
Those listening,
Yeah.
that's the third
Yeah.
film you have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, where he played as a Filipino.
Please believe me. You read my IMDb page, I fall asleep. I got like 166 credits. So, yeah, that's a lot. But now, I've been able to play Filipino in other shows. Prodigal Son, that character Gil Arroyo that I played. He was supposed to be Filipino, and we were going to reveal that in one of the episodes that we didn't get to shoot during the pandemic, but it was in the script. And I suggested the name Arroyo to the producers because it was a different name before. And I said, can we do something that, and they said, yeah, why don't you play Filipino in this? I said, great. Let's change the name to something that could be either Latino or Filipino. And I actually chose Arroyo.
Arroyo, very Filipino.
Because in 2004, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo gave me a presidential citation for the work that I did with the Filipino war veterans.
Fantastic.
Yeah, myself and Fritz Friedman testified before a House Committee on Veterans Affairs. So that was my little nod to her. So that character was Filipino. I was in Easter Sunday with Joe Coy, playing myself. So that took a lot of research.
Yes.
But I mean, even recently on Firebuds, which was a Disney Junior animated show, my character, Fire Chief Bill, is Filipino. So it's really lovely that I'm able to own that a little bit more and to promote that. And as we were talking earlier, I'm actually next month I'm going to direct another episode of The Cleaning Lady, which has a very large Filipino cast.
The
Cleaning Lady. It's on Fox.
Okay,
Yeah,
Fox.
in their third season, I think. And I've directed a couple of episodes for them before, in addition to having appeared on the show. Once again, just doing what I can to keep us in the forefront.
Yes, that's your advocacy, and thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, Lou Diamond Phillips, as I said, it was only later that I know of your Filipino heritage. So can you tell just a little bit of your background? How did it become Lou Diamond Phillips? Very, very American, and
Well, actually, my born name was much more Anglican than that. I was born Lou Diamond Upchurch. My father was Gerald Upchurch. He passed when I was very, very young. A number of Marines know this about me. Both my father Gerald and my stepfather George Phillips were in the Navy, and so I ended up traveling around a lot when I was a kid. But Gerald had read a book on Gunnery Sergeant Lou Diamond, He was a real person, a real hero in World War II in the Pacific Theater. He loved the name, although Gunny Sergeant Lou Diamond spelled his L-E-W because his full name was Llewellyn. But my grandmother on my father's side, her name was Luella, and my mom's name was Lucy. And so my dad Gerald said, you know what, we're going to spell his L-O-U. And it's not short for anything.
Which is good.
Exactly.
Which was good, yes.
So it was Lou Diamond. And then, when my father passed and my mother remarried George Phillips, he adopted me and I took the last name Phillips. So none of it is made up. All of it is real.
Yes. But it seems like your mother has a very good influence of you. The mother is Filipina.
Yes.
Okay. Because when he came in, he made mano po to me. For those of you who do not know it, mano po is a sign of respect for an elder. Okay. And you put your hand on her hand or his hand, and you make like this, mano po. And that's what he did. So I said, wow, your mother trained you well.
Yeah, and she taught me how to cook. So there you go.
Cook Filipino food.
Yeah.
Pancit.
The last time I was directing The Cleaning Lady, I had a lot of the cast over, and I made pancit. Although I couldn't find glass noodles in Albuquerque.
Yes.
Maybe I'll
you can do
I'll
it
try again
with pasta.
I did. I think I did it with like pad thai noodles or something.
Yes, that's right.
But I used the pancit.
And chicken adobo.
I do pork and chicken. I put
Pork
mine
and chicken.
together.
Yes, very good.
And but I can't roll lumpia. I really suck at rolling lumpia.
No, lumpia is a little above the grade, above your pay grade. But you can do sinigang and so very Filipino. Your mother trained you well. Lechon, of course, yes. So we have here Lou Diamond Phillips, but he talked about he's also being a writer.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about that. Do you have a published book?
I have it's interesting. And my wife is an amazing illustrator, Yvonne. And when we first started dating, we were showing each other the stuff that we do. And she knew I was an actor like everybody, but she didn't know I was a writer. So she read some of my early stuff. And I discovered that she is an amazing illustrator. She was a hair and makeup artist in the film industry, and that's how we met. And we met in Vancouver, Canada. And then she showed me these amazing manga illustrations. She was going to do
a novel.
A graphic novel.
Graphic novel.
And it was inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's The Tinderbox. And I said, well, this is a movie because it automatically, because of the Asian influence, it made me think of Star Wars, and all of that, sort of Asian influence. And she goes, well, write it. So I wrote the movie, the screenplay, and then realized after I'd written it that it was so expensive, nobody would ever give me the money to direct it. And it was actually my manager. He goes, well, write the novel. I mean, just, imprint it, onto the source material. And that way, if anybody ever buys it, you will have at least done that. And as I said before, my hero is brown. It was important because, one of the things that I say in Hollywood, it's not just about, the people in front of the camera. The real power is with the producers and the writers and the directors. Those are the people who are going to be making the difference and who control the content that we see on our televisions and on our movie screens. So for my source material, the young hero is a 19-year-old brown guy. So at any rate, it's a sci-fantasy novel. Like I said, it follows the plot of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. And what's funny is that
fairy tale of the tin soldier.
Yeah, no, it's called the Tinder Box.
The Tinder Box.
Yeah, okay. and there is a soldier in it, and the young man is a soldier. But suddenly, now that I've written the book and Yvonne has to illustrate it, she got so mad at me because she goes, I don't do science fiction. I don't draw the spaceships, and I don't draw robots, and I don't, But she really got out of her comfort zone, and she did an amazing job. The first book is still available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble online. And
the title is
that one was the Tinder Box Soldier of Indira.
Soldier of Indira.
And the second one, the first one did so well, we decided to do a sequel. And Yvonne actually came up with the storyline, so she gets the story by credit on the second novel. And once again, she did the illustrations. And that book comes out November 19th.
Okay,
So
very soon.
Once again,
Yes.
that's available on
And the
Amazon.
title is?
That one is The Tinderbox,
The Tinderbox.
Underground Movement.
Underground
And they're
Movement.
both there.
So it's still science fiction.
Yeah, it's the same world.
Yes.
It stands alone, but a lot of the main characters are coming back. I'm not going to tell you who dies, but it's a standalone story. But I think if you read the first one, it really gives foundation and context to the second book.
All right. So watch out for it. This is his well, in a way, your other persona as an author.
Exactly.
All
Well,
right.
living in New York now and growing this out, I'm kind of playing a part, right? So why not?
Yes, it is a new look.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. So the direction, the acting, director, and author.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So would you say that your background, because you said you grew up in Texas, how did you keep your identity as a Filipino American?
Well, it was interesting because being in the Navy, I grew up around a lot of mixed blood kids, including a lot of Filipino Americans, and other mutts, I guess we would call
Biracial.
ourselves. Yeah,
Biracial.
It was part of my existence, and I didn't really think about it a lot until I got to college, and then I got to Hollywood, and all of a sudden I realized, okay, I'm not quite like everybody else. I'm like the only ethnic member of the Brat Pack. I'm Brat Pack adjacent. But I was in Hollywood all of a sudden, and a lot of my mother's family lives on the West Coast. So
Yes.
a lot of people that I didn't get to see, as much growing up because we lived in Washington State, we lived in Florida, we lived in Georgia, a number of these places. I suddenly got to reconnect, with a lot of my cousins and a lot of my aunties. My mother has 6 sisters, so
Very, very typically Filipino.
exactly. And so I was able to attend a lot more family gatherings and whatnot. So. It was nice to sort of be able to reclaim that and to discover it again a little bit more. Plus, I had lived in the Philippines for a certain amount of time. George did 2 tours in Vietnam, and after that, from
during that
1970 to 74, we lived in Subic Bay on the Naval Air Station. So I during a real formative period of my life. I was able to really be immersed in the Filipino culture and to live there.
So you mean to say you went to a school where all your classmates are Filipinos?
Well,
or is it
on the
the
base.
American on the base?
On the
Okay.
base, and so
Yes.
there was a lot of, as I said, mixed race kids and kids from all over. And it's interesting because I discovered later on that some people don't have that experience. They've never met somebody from another country. They've never met somebody of mixed blood. They kind of live in their bubble, and I think that's what we're dealing with today. To be quite honest, is hopefully the ability to understand each other, to experience each other's cultures, each other's way of lives, and become more accepting of that. There's an entire group that resists that, which is a shame.
Absolutely. Like these
Yeah.
times, at these times during this political
Yeah.
arena that we have now, you are so absolutely right.
And there were a number of times and a few organizations that I helped in the last few years. Stop Asian Hate. Just being aware that this exists out there, and once again using your platform to try and do something good that that will attempt to make a difference and attempt to bring some understanding and some compassion to other people.
That's beautiful. Okay, for everyone listening, that makes a great man.
Yeah.
Okay, he is a great actor. He is an author, but in his heart, he remained Filipino with an understanding and compassion for others. Thank you for that. Now, but during your entire time in Hollywood, did you not ever experience, discrimination or bigotry, or because you don't look like them?
It hasn't really stopped. I'm not. I've been fortunate. I was an actor because of success in films. I've been able to cross over. So I did, there are certain films of mine where my character is not ethnic. It didn't matter. Movies like The First Power, where my character's name is Russell Logan, or Courage Under Fire that I did with Denzel Washington and Meg Ryan and Matt Damon. The character's name was Montfreeze. We didn't know what he was. And that's what I've always advocated for, with young actors. It's like, don't be the best hyphenated actor. Be an actor with a capital A.
Excellent.
Let your talent be the bar by which you are judged. And there, there are times when I know what I'm up against, where there are certain roles where it's like, okay, I know that, it's going to be me and Jimmy Smits and Andy Garcia and Esai and, we're going to be the guys up for the role. Then there are the other roles where I'm up against everybody my age, and that's rough. And I know that, when the producer goes, well, we're not going that way, that means they're not going this way, and sometimes Hollywood math is bizarre. I was up for one film once where they had an offer out to an African-American actor. If he had said yes, they would have given me, one of the lead roles. He said no. A Caucasian actor got it, and so therefore the role that I was up for, they had to go black, because this is the Hollywood math, how they mix and match things, So I think a lot of people would be surprised that it's not just about how good you are, or what a great audition you give. There are other considerations that producers take into consideration that you can't do anything about. And it's difficult, but all you can do is to keep yourself out there to, as I said, force them one way or the other to deal with your ability, rather than their descriptions of you or whatever box they want to put you in.
Okay, so that's a very good lesson. All right, just be the best you can be. As good as an actor Lou Diamond Phillips is, there's still that, life happens.
Yeah.
You wanted the role, you cannot get it, but you just keep on going.
Yeah, always.
You never give up.
Well, I mean, once again, whenever I've had an opportunity to talk to young actors, I go, you better love this, because it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard. There will be so much rejection. You will lose more than you win, but if you love it and you get a chance to do it, like I said, it's been 40 years. I did my first professional job at 19 years old in Texas, and I'm 62 now, so
still young compared to me.
It's been a 40-year career, and I've been grateful for it.
But did you hear that also? Love of what he does. Yes. All right, that keeps him going. Yeah. All right. So if you don't mind, we have some questions from the audience.
Sure.
All right. This is from Sandra L. I really enjoyed your first book, The Tinderbox.
Well, thank you.
Soldier of Indira.
Very much.
Would love to hear what the underground movement is about. And could this be a series that will continue on? All right, good question.
It's a very good question. Yes, there's a little bit of a time jump in underground movement. A lot of the characters are going to be coming back, and there are some new characters that I think you're going to find very, very interesting. The first book was very much a fairy tale.
Okay, the first book is Soldier of Indira.
Soldier of Indira was very much a fairy tale, based on the Hans Christian Andersen one. The second book, and my wife came up with the story, if I had to categorize it at all, would be a mystery thriller. There's a lot of political intrigue, a cataclysmic event really throws what has been a period of peace into a period of turmoil. And how are they going to deal with this, and who's going to come down on what side of the fence? It's wonderful. The cover of the book, I love it, and it's not your typical science fiction. It doesn't really fit neatly into that category. It's sci fantasy. There's also a very environmental message in this particular book. But the little girl on the cover is a character named Hester, and she starts the book. She has some psychic abilities. So there's once again a little bit of a otherworldly fantasy feel to it. If if I could describe it, I guess it would be like Game of Thrones meets Star Wars, that kind of thing.
That's great. Okay, watch out for it. It's coming out in November. All right. And the second one is from Carlos from New York City. Have you ever thought of making a movie out of the books? The two books that you have come out with?
Yes, it's because we said, as I said, I actually wrote a screenplay. But after having finished the first book and having finished the second book, I actually think it's better served as a limited series. At the time when the first book took me 10 years. My day job kept getting in the way, So I would write, sporadically and whenever I had time. The second book I finished in a year. But in the process of writing, adapting the screenplay into a novel, it grew and it became more detailed, and there was more subplots and more background and all this other wonderful stuff. So I actually think that and the limited series did not exist as a format, back in the late 90s. That's kind of a new thing, and streaming is a new thing. And at the time, I said it in space as science fiction, but Game of Thrones hadn't happened yet. And so now I think there's a real appetite for fantasy as well. And this is a great mix of both. So I think that the first book certainly is a 10-episode series, and the second book would obviously lend itself to that. The question is, between my wife and I, can we come up with a plot for a third one? I don't know.
It will come up.
We've been kicking it around a little bit, and we're waiting for inspiration to land again.
Yes. There's always a part 3.
Exactly.
Or the next one. Melv from Melvin O. How does he feel about playing the first Filipino character in his career so late in his life, which is Easter Sunday? You played yourself.
Yeah, I played myself. Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, one of the first things that I did in Hollywood, being a writer as well, and having written, stage plays when I was in college and whatnot, was to write a movie where I played Filipino, and so it was a bit underseen. It's a little obscure, that film. But Dr. Hang Nor, played my father in that, Cambodian, because there were no Filipino actors, of that age at the time in Hollywood. Even so, I loved having him play the role. He was amazing. So it's something that I've attempted to do, for a very long time. Something that I've been, cognizant of. But those opportunities don't come up. So everybody goes, well, you played Latino and you played many native roles. And it's like, well, yeah, I took this from Ishmael Elitov. He had this joke because he was a UPS driver way back when. It's like, that's been the motto of my career. What can Brown do for you? So I've represented so many communities, but I've always tried to do it with pride and with respect, and to reflect well, on those communities. As I said, they weren't making a lot of movies, and I joke about it. One of those jokes in Easter Sunday about, I'm part Scot-Irish, but, did Mel Gibson put me in Braveheart? No. That was an ad lib. Because it's true,
Yes.
But if I were just to play my DNA, I'd never work as an actor. But fortunately, there's some other stuff coming up. It's interesting. There are 2 films that I completed. One called Keep Quiet, which is like training day on the res, and that just knock wood. We submitted to Sundance. We'll see if it gets in. But it's a very Native American role. But we had to specifically say, I'm not Native in it. I'm part Filipino. The same thing with another movie that I did called Aguadilla, which is also hopefully coming out next year, that I did with Tom Muska, who wrote and produced Stand and Deliver. He is now professor of film at the University of Miami. He wrote this beautiful film noir, and he co-directed it with his son, Alex, who's 25. So, a full circle moment, in the Muska clan. But once again, we made sure to mention that I'm half Filipino in that. So it's not only claiming it, but it's that, realization that people will make assumptions, and maybe even to avoid blowback, you have to say, no, my character is this. Don't automatically assume certain things about this character. Don't put it into a box. Don't categorize it or label it. This is America. We have people of please, our next president could very well be of mixed race.
Yes. Yes, actually, they say by 2030, the minority will become the majority in the population.
Yeah.
Okay? But give again those two films that are coming on.
One is called Keep Quiet.
Keep Quiet.
And the other one's called Aguadilla.
Aguadilla.
The title may change. We'll see. But yeah, we filmed it in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. So that was pretty wonderful. And then I've got actually, while we're on the subject, I have a movie coming out December 6th in theaters with Frank Grillo called Werewolves.
Werewolves.
Yeah,
is this
about.
a terror?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And Katrina Law, from NCIS. So that one's in theaters December 6th.
Werewolves.
Yes.
Okay.
Look for that one. You can see the trailer right now on all the social media. It's all over the place. And then another one that I'm going to be doing some press for, I think it might be streaming, I don't know yet, called Get Fast. So that one's coming out soon. And it just dropped, so I can now talk about it. I'm actually in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So, that's fun.
All right. So he's working hard.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Yes, always busy. Okay, this is from Sarah S. Okay, this is a softball one. You've been successful in film, in theater, in poker competitions.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
What have you found the most rewarding?
It's funny. A lot of people say, "Well, do you prefer theater? Do you prefer film, television? What kind of roles? Comedy or drama or sci-fi or horror,
terror,
yeah,
horror.
Exactly, all of that. And my answer is always the same. It's like my favorite genre is the genre of employment. So
yes, that's the hard part of being an actor.
Exactly,
you win the Tony, Emmy, and then you're out of work the next day.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes,
no,
but that's the
and so it literally is, and thank goodness. And I go back to my theater roots. I did Shakespeare. And I did Mamet. I did all things in between. I did leads. I did supporting roles, cameos, good guys, bad guys, directing, writing, all of that. And so to me, it's all branches of the same creative tree. I look at myself as a storyteller.
That's nice. Listen to that. All branches of the same native tree, and that's your own persona, your own love for what you do.
Exactly. And so I've been fortunate, and poker's not on that list, but
this is the first time I've heard about it. So you also do poker?
I actually I've
poker
cashed,
competition.
Yes, I've cashed at the World Series twice. I came in very high, like in the top 2% the main event, but that was like in 2012. So I cashed in that, and then just this last year. I came in, 149th out of 7,000 in the seniors event.
Wow.
So,
wow. Did you hear that? He does also poker competition.
But
I love it.
I
love it.
I'm Asian. That's, there's some badass Asian poker players out there.
Very good. So this is from Michael M. Who do you credit as the actor whom you emulated in your career when creating your own acting process? Meaning to say, who could be sort of like a role model?
Well, there's a few. And in the 70s, when I was a teenager, looking up at the screen and seeing people like De Niro and Pacino and Hoffman, and all of a sudden these dark guys, these swarthy guys with dark hair, they weren't Redford, they weren't Newman, I thought, wow, look, they've become, leading men. They have film careers, it's not the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, type. And they were a real inspiration to me. Bruce Lee was a massive inspiration, and Brandon was a dear friend of mine. And I had the one opportunity, it was really lovely. I saw Sidney Poitier in a restaurant in Hollywood. And I saw him, and his wife saw me, so I knew that she knew that, that I was. And I waited till he finished eating, word to the wise. Waited till he finished
Don't
eating.
interrupt, please. Yes.
And I went up to him as he was standing up. I said, Mr. Poirier, because of you, not just people like you, because of you, I can be a leading man today. Because he changed the face of all of that. He broke down those doors. And Sidney Poitier, in his infinite grace and kindness, said to me, Lou, you're a leading man because you're a good actor.
Oh, that's love. That's so good. Wow, wow.
So, yeah.
No.
No,
But that is true.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
but it's
thank
so gracious and generous of him.
Yes.
To say that.
Yeah, it was incredibly generous
great,
of him.
He's a great man.
But there's, there are those people that, that paved the way for me. When I honestly, like I said, Edward James Olmos, was a big, and I'm still very dear friends with him. And when I did Ambition, Cecilia Peck, I got to go have dinner with her father, Gregory Peck.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
Wow,
and
the greats.
we were having a glass of wine, and he said, "Lou, you put me in mind of my friend Tony Quinn." And I was like,
"Oh, Anthony Quinn!"
Massive praise,
yes.
Because back in the day, Anthony Quinn was the guy who played Inuit and Latino and Greek and Native, and he did all of that, and so in some ways,
because he was the only one.
Exactly, and so now I was that for my generation in the '80s.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, this is the last one from Adrian E. Is there a dream role or a type of project that you haven't tackled yet, but would love to pursue?
Wow. Well, first of all, I'd love to get back on stage. Now living in New York, and I'm keeping my eyes open, and some things have come up, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I was Tony nominated for The King and I back in '97.
Of course. I saw that one.
Oh,
yes,
my.
yes,
Thank
of
you.
course, yes.
And Donna Murphy won, and we won Best Revival. So that's a tough act to follow. I'm, having to see, find one that is, worthy of me going back on stage. Although I did do Miss Saigon recently in Fort Worth. I go back to it. There's a wonderful theater there, and I've done a project, a few projects there. I did The King and I there, A Few Good Men with Jensen Ackles, and then I went back and I did Miss Saigon last summer.
Not the engineer?
No. Yeah, I played the engineer.
You played the engineer? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
yes.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not young enough to play one of the the soldiers.
No, but this engineer is crucial in that film.
It was an amazing role, and I hope to do it again because. It was such a short run that I told my director, Greg Zane, another Filipino, who was my dance captain in the '97 King and I said, we're going to finish this, and I'm going to feel like I'm just getting started, and it's true. 10 days rehearsal, 10 days performance,
Yes.
So I'd love to get back on stage. I'd love to do more comedy. I'm going to be in an HBO comedy next year called The Chair Company. The HBO picked it up. We've already done the pilot, but we haven't started filming the series yet. So that'll be sometime in the spring. So more comedy, always good. There are some big projects that I have as a director. I co-wrote a screenplay for my friend Brandon Lee with his best friend Bill Allen, and we've been trying for quite a while to get that movie made. So at some point, hopefully, we'll get it made and make sure and keep his legacy alive.
Yes.
But other than that, I'm always surprised by what comes down the pipe. I'm still getting roles that challenge me, that are different, that keep the juices flowing as an actor. So there's still a lot yet to be done.
Yes, that's wonderful. Last final word to all those aspiring actors out there who have listened to this podcast. Is there any final word you have to tell them?
Never quit.
Never quit.
Yeah, if you quit, you're never going to get a shot. And some people, a lot of young people come up to me, and a lot of older people too. I mean, Morgan Freeman didn't become famous until late in his 40s. So Wilford Brimley was in his 60s or 70s. I mean, there is no formula. You can always be the outlier, the anomaly to all of that. But a lot of times people say, "Well, I'm an aspiring actor." I said, "No, you're not. You're an actor. You're just waiting to get paid." You get that mindset in your head, but then you have to work at it. You have to take the classes. You have to get into the theater groups. You have to put yourself in a position to be surrounded by other artists who are going to support you and perhaps increase your opportunities. Too many people today think they're going to get famous on the internet, or I call it the American Idol mentality. They think they're going to have overnight success. It doesn't work that way. And if you get one shot, it goes away just as quickly if you don't have a foundation. So you have to love it as an art and as a craft, and you have to apply it that way. Nobody can teach you patience, and nobody can teach you discipline. you're going to have to bring that to the party with your talent.
There you have it. Words of wisdom from Lou Diamond Phillips. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
having me.
much. Yes. So this is the Loida Lewis podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together. Thank you. Very good. Oh, no. Terrific.
The Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV, executive produced by Loida Nicolas Lewis. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together